I don't think they were given the full facts.
Okay, on that note, I'd like to ask you to comment on certainly what many Russian citizens, and I'm not talking about analysts or politicians, just people, and Europeans, when they hear a comment from George Bush condemning Russia, or any other country for that matter, about any kind of invasion of another country.
As John McCain in the 20th century said, in the 21st century, nations do not invade other nations. I think even Dick Cheney was laughing at that one. Because, look, the United States attacked Iraq, a country which did not threaten us, did not want war with us, did not attack us, in order to take away from it weapons it did not have. Everybody knows that now. People know that Israel bombed Lebanon for 35 days because of a border incident in which 2 Israeli soldiers were killed and 2 were captured. In far greater violence than the Russians did in South Ossetia and Georgia. Now, Americans know this. They know we bombed Serbia for 78 days when Serbia had not attacked us, and it was attempting to recapture and redraw in the province that it was losing of Kosovo. So I think if the American people are told these facts, they will understand. Unfortunately, it's all very much, the media is all very much of the moment. They look at the television screen, they say, what happened today? Russian tanks rolled into this little country, little democratic country that's a friend of ours. And that's all they know, and that's all they see, and they're not very well informed, frankly.
Do you think it's hypocrisy then for Western news networks to criticize Russia's democracy, or, for that matter, talk about censorship in Russia, when clearly, after this conflict, the American people aren't getting the full story?
Well, the American media ought to examine their own performance in this. I really believe that. I mean, I watched TV, I saw the newspapers and everything, and even the American governmental leaders. I mean, why didn't they tell us, say that look, Russia's response we think was excessive. However, Saakashvili should never have launched that surprise attack at night and done what he did. He provoked this war. We think Russia has over-responded. We think the war ought to stop. You didn't get that. All you got was Russia has invaded Georgia.
Would you call those who are predicting a second Cold War pessimists?
Yeah, and they're not only pessimists. There's no need for a second Cold War. Russia and the United States, in my judgment, are natural allies. We have no territorial quarrels. We've never fought each other in a war. There simply is no place in which we so impinge on each other that there's a real danger of conflict there. And so there is no need for any Cold War. And as I say, it seems to me in the national interest of the United States, the most important relationship, or one of them certainly, is our relationship with Moscow. And it's far more important than our relationship with Tbilisi. Far more important. And I think the Russian foreign minister has a point when he says you have to choose Russia or Georgia. And if it's a choice between having Georgia as a military ally in NATO or having Russia as a friend and partner of the United States, I will take Russia as a friend and partner of the United States.
Now, I'd like to speak a little bit about AMD in Eastern Europe. The Czech Republic signed on before this conflict began.
They get the radars.
Right. But Poland, I believe on Monday, signed one of the final documents. Do you think this was a reaction to what happened?
I think it was a Polish reaction to what happened. And you also saw something else the Poles got as a result of the Georgia incident. They're now getting American Patriot anti-aircraft missiles.
Which America wasn't ready to agree on before.
America wasn't ready to agree on. They're going to be manned by Americans. Mm-hmm. Now, this to me is a mistake. I mean, clearly when Putin says who is NATO aimed at, I mean, who are those missiles aimed at? The anti-aircraft missiles. They're clearly aimed at Russia. Now, that starts us right down the road of us doing something to them that provokes them and them responding, and that's the way you can walk right up into another Cold War. So I think that was a mistake, frankly. Again, what is more valuable to us? 10 anti-missile missiles to defend against an Iranian rocket that's never been built and a warhead they don't have, or the friendship and partnership of the largest country on earth, the second nuclear power, and the dominant power in both Asia and Europe. I mean, it seemed to me that the partnership and friendship with Russia are enormously important and Americans should pay a price to hold on to them.
I'd like to go back finally to the conflict in the Caucasus and compare it with the roots of the conflict in Kosovo. Now, this is all about independence, and it's been that way for decades. Why is it okay for Kosovo to declare unilateral independence?
That's just it.
And not okay for Abkhazia and South Ossetia?
You're saying the Americans aren't consistent, and that's...
Much of the world is saying that.
Well, the world is saying that, and there is no consistency in the American position to support the separation, independence of Kosovo and then recognize it as an independent nation when Kosovo is the cradle province of Serbia. And it was pointed out to the Americans when we did that this could affect South Ossetia and it could affect Abkhazia. And you notice the Spanish, for example, who were concerned about the Basque country, about its right to secede. They were concerned about not recognizing Kosovo. So there is clearly an inconsistency in the American position. I don't deny it.
So where do you see this all going?
It doesn't look good.
It would seem that both countries don't have a choice but to work together some way or another.
Well, they have no choice. But both countries are proud countries. But there's a lot of people on both sides, I think, who say, look, the greatest thing we did in our lifetime was to end this Cold War without either of us using these horrendous arsenals on each other and killing millions of people, Russians and Americans. And we don't want another Cold War. We're not interested. Our war is over.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Pat Buchanan, thank you for joining us here on RT. Stay with us after the break. A different point of view. Joining us will be former Deputy Secretary